Okay, I'm here with Raul Cantu, who is a fellow member of the APSI Cohort 15 group at uh, Texas State University, pursuing a doctorate in education, focus on adult, professional, and community ed. So thank you for taking the time to visit with me today. I'm very interested in hearing a little bit about you and how you got here today. To get started, I'm really interested in the type of work that you do in adult ed. So could you describe the work that you're doing in adult ed now?
Sure, I teach English, the English grammar skills, English writing skills, and a couple of other things. We teach reading and vocabulary, and I teach oral communication skills as well. So, three strands of English communication skills.
Okay. And in the work that you do you have any role models that you try to emulate, or are there folks that you look to as examples of how teaching in the area that you're teaching in do their work?
Not really. I've just kind of developed my own style over the 20 years. Yeah, 20 years that I've been teaching. It's probably a combination of different things that I've seen different people do. You know, some people may be really organized and do lesson plans really well, and pick up something from them. But then another person is more, um, has another way with their classroom, with the classroom management, that they have a different style from some other person, and maybe I pick up something from them. So, yeah, you're always just picking up little pieces from different people, but not any one particular person.
Well, do you have a particular philosophical approach that guides your work?
Oh, sure, definitely.
Okay.
I look at my biggest influence, probably as an approach to teaching, is just the humanistic style and putting the student at the center of everything I do. And also just remembering that I teach adults, and then knowing that they're adults, that they're autonomous individuals with valuable background experiences and knowledge that they bring to the classroom. And they're also, since they're autonomous, they have individual goals separate from what maybe I may have as an instructor. So keeping all that in mind, keeping those three things in mind, the student's autonomy, their background knowledge, and also what their goals are, I think that helps me in the classroom.
I think so. Tell me a little bit about where you work. We didn't get to that in the first question.
Sure, I work at a
So
community
set that
college.
context for me.
Sure, I work at a community college in the Southwest, and it serves both urban and rural districts. It has a combination of students that maybe are inner city, and we have some rural campuses that serve in other communities. I happen to teach in one of the ones that are more the outlying community of our district where I work at. I'm in one of the outlying campuses, and so I have a combination of suburban and rural communities represented there. And the campus is three buildings. They're adding another building or two up there for the nursing students, but all in all, it's a nice little community college, small little place.
When you're thinking about teachers of adults, so when you consider teachers of adults, are there any personal or professional characteristics that you believe will help them be successful in their work?
Sure, yeah. I think if you're a teacher of adults, you have to understand that each student has, they have already background knowledge. They're not empty slates, and they're not empty vessels. They already have knowledge. All you're really trying to do is trying to help them reach their goals, whatever those may be. And hopefully it's still a passion or motivation to become self-directed, and to be self-motivated and not necessarily need anyone to tell them what they need to do as far as academically or professionally.
So, teachers, you're saying that maybe an important characteristic is for the teacher to recognize that the adult brings a set of experiences and certain knowledge to the table. And so they're not just pouring knowledge in, but instead empowering the students to achieve their goals.
Right, exactly. Trying to use what's already there and maybe adding to it, but not trying to change it or trying to treat it like they're empty. Uh, the opposite of the banking model. We don't want to treat them like empty vessels.
How might a teacher assess how to come alongside a student and support them in the achievement of their goals?
I think you have to ask questions such as, what do you know and what do you want to know? And you'd be surprised that students sometimes, they can usually tell you what they know. They'll say, well, I don't know anything about it, or I know this about it. But when you ask them why are they there, why do they want to know, that usually takes longer to answer. And so just asking questions is one way to find out.
Okay. Describe your students for me. Are there any characteristics which they share in common, or any goals that you see sort of across your student groups?
Yeah, the goal, I think a common goal is they want to improve their lives in different ways. Some are trying to get a better job. Some are trying to just be able to communicate better inside their community and or with their spouse in society, trying to communicate better. But I think another thing they have in common, they're all international students. They're all coming from somewhere else. There's not one student in there that was born here. And so they're international. They all want to improve their lives. Those are two big common themes I see. And I think they're all a little bit not scared, but maybe not really intimidated. But I think there's some type of, maybe it's almost like a fear, but not really a fear of the unknown for them. They're in a new place.
Do you think these characteristics that you describe, so they're interested in improving their life, they're all international students, not from here, this fear of the unknown, do you think those are unique to the students that you serve, or do you think that those are characteristics, some of them, I mean, international obviously is a different one, but do you think that those characterize adults in general, or are they sort of specific to the students that you serve? Who are these international students?
I think it's in general. I think that it works across any adult learner. Yeah, I've taught adults since 2001. And I've always taught international learners, always, but I've talked to other people in my life, and I think that everybody learns the same way.
Okay, so you think that some of these things are really general to adults?
I think so.
Okay. Interesting. How did you become interested in pursuing doctoral study, in adult ed, here specifically at Texas State University?
I researched the other programs that were, the UT, the other ones that were locally, that were close. Living in Georgetown, I was looking at things in Austin or close to Austin. And the first place, obvious was UT because it's the biggest university in the area. And some of the other ones like Baylor and Dallas. But most of those are seems like they're focused towards administrative type degrees, doctoral degrees. And my interest is more towards educational research, behavioral studies, and not so much administrative things. So that's what drew me to this program because they really put a heavy emphasis on qualitative studies. And that's where my interest is, that type of research, and not so much the other type that they offer, say at UT, for example.
If we step back from that, how did you decide to, what made you take the decision to pursue a PhD to begin with?
Sitting in the team meetings, when we have department meetings, I sat there and I realized that felt like I was reaching a ceiling. I had reached a limit on what I could do with a master's, at least what I was being able to do at that moment. So the next obvious logical step for me was to pursue a more advanced degree and just go for a doctorate.
I got you. What are your goals when you complete the program?
Research and write, publish more, and research more, and teach still. But the percentage of teaching would be less. It would be, whereas now it's 100% teaching and 0% research. I would want to do at least 50% research and maybe 25% teaching and 25% presentation and that type of work. But yeah, I want to reduce the teaching and do more writing, more research.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all of the basic questions that I have for you. Is there anything else or any other information that you'd like to share on adult education or your experience in the field?
I think probably the only thing I would want to add is that um, my master's degree is in early childhood, and so that actually gave me a strong foundation for what we're doing now and the things we're learning now.
How so?
Because I understand developmental psychology, and I understand ideas like cognitive development, different cognitive development theories, and like transformative learning and Keegan's cognitive development theory and all these other theories. Um, that's what I'm here for. And what I've realized is that all these things translate from what I learned in early childhood, and the things that I learned about how the brain works and how people learn actually work with adults. Most of the things that you do with children actually work with adults. You just have to look at it in a different way. But for example, one early childhood theorist, Vygotsky, was one of them that talked about how the zone of proximal development, and some people will say, well, that's they'll say that's going to the student's level where they are and meeting them there. Vygotsky says that too for children, and he calls it the zone of proximal development. And basically, that's the point where the student has enough scaffolding, enough knowledge to make the leap into the next level that you want them to go to. But you have to provide first that scaffolding and that support so that they can make that jump into the next level. Otherwise, they can't do it. And so in that sense, then learning is very socially constructed because you still need the teacher or you need someone and the learner. It's a socially constructed thing. And so with adults, what's worked for me is realizing that it is still socially constructed. Even though you're adults, you still have the same situation where you have one person learning from another person. So in my classrooms, collaborative groups are real important because I don't want the students sitting there just listening to me. I want them talking with each other, bouncing ideas and questions off each other, because that's really where the learning happens. And that comes back to Vygotsky, to what he said. I think he's the first one that really touches on that.
That seems to sort of fall in line with, I think, what we see emerging now in adult ed, continuing ed, continuing professional education around teamwork, collaboration, is better outcomes are achieved when solutions are derived from the experiences and the input of the group versus a more top-down approach where this is what is going to be and that's it.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, definitely. There's got to be some, back and forth going on.
Mhm. Okay. Well, thank you for your time, and I'm going to look forward to sort of thinking about some of the things that you've said. I'm particularly interested in what you said about Wygotsky. I'll tell you more about that later. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.